Welcome to the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast. Real inspiration for real innovators. If you're looking for innovation and leadership transformation, your journey starts now.
Welcome to the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Bourne. Look, if you're enjoying these innovation insights, don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss a future episode. By following the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast, you'll stay at the forefront of trends, strategies, and real-world examples that guide today's innovators. And I'm so excited to have one of my friends back on the podcast, Kene Iloenyosi, and he is a career coach, a speaker. We're going to talk about some of the books he's authored, which is really cool. He has Finding Your Sweet Spot, as well as DNA of Talent, and also another book that's coming, right? Putting Your Purpose to Work. So he is phenomenal at helping us think about how to show up and be our best, and also how to really maximize our career. Welcome to the podcast, Kene.
Thanks, Natalie. It is good to be back. It is
Yes,
good to be back.
it's so good to have you. Well, let's start by talking about what you do. As a matter of fact, before we hit record, we're talking about the fact that you even have a session coming up in August of this year. And so I'd love to talk a little bit about what you do, maybe even through the context of that session that's coming.
Well, I'm a career coach, and we started these workshops called Finding Your Career Sweet Spot. And it was kicked off by Georgia Tech, the Alumni Association. I created a program for them, and I've been offering this to Georgia Tech alumni since 2019. They do 2 or 3 sessions a year. And so now we started last year offering these open workshops for those who are not tech alumni. And it's, anyone can sign up. It's a 4-week session. And once you sign up, you get a code to take an assessment that helps you uncover your natural abilities. And that's where most people struggle. Most issues with work and career and figuring out why people are dissatisfied is that there's a disconnection between natural abilities and what people do. And so the workshop really helps you find out what's missing and helps you realign and figure out, the next step to, how to dive into the right path. And so the next session is in August. I believe it's the 4 Fridays in August. I have 2 more sessions this year, August, and I think it's October or November, but I know the next one is in August.
Okay, well, we'll put it in we'll put the link in the chat. What assessment? Is it the same assessment that I took with you a while ago?
Yes, the Highlands.
Okay, so I have to brag on you for a second. That was a really cool assessment. One of the things that I learned about myself through this assessment, Kene, and I never knew this about myself before taking that assessment, is that I'm like a very big auditory learner, and I'm a very big visual learner. And so
Mm,
it's a low likelihood that I'm gonna get it, read it cover to cover. But if I can listen to a book first, then I actually want to go read it. It's interesting how it always felt backwards for me, right? But when I was able to take this assessment, I actually began to realize a little bit more about myself and how I interact with the world and why I'm wired the way I am. So I just want to encourage people. That was a really, really cool assessment. I love that you kick off with that assessment so that people can kind of get a sense of who they are and how they're wired and why they're wired that way. Because there's a quote you say, and I'm gonna butcher it, but how do you say it? You say like why you
You're
are?
how you are for why you are.
Yes, that one.
Yeah. You are how you are for why you are. It's not about trying to be like someone else. You are already enough. God wired you a certain way for a certain reason. And I'm like, I tell people, stop trying. When people tell me, I want to get over my introversion, why? I mean, introversion is not a disease, okay? You're an introvert for a reason,
Yeah.
okay? And so thanks for saying that, because these little things that, you say you did not realize, but you've always been that way.
That's right.
And so we're not showing people, we're not adding, the assessment adds nothing new. It just points out what you already have experienced. And now it's like, okay, how can I use this strategically? And so something else, I don't want to say it's small, but now you know that, hey, my best learning channel is auditory, not reading the book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's very powerful for me. Like I felt like I got a little bit of freedom knowing a little bit more about myself and why was I wired so differently than everybody else. But there's something interesting you talk about too, which is, being an introvert, for example. Many people are surprised to find out I'm an introvert because
I
I
know
do
you
a lot
are.
of talking.
What?
You know that? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Lucy is an introvert, so trust me, I have been schooled in introversion, but you are what I tell people. So you are an outgoing introvert.
Yeah.
You know how to connect with people. The fact that you're an introvert does not mean you don't like people or that you don't like connecting with people. It's just that engagement wears you down.
Yes.
You lose energy by too much engagement. And at some point, you're like, all right, I am peopled out. Don't call me. Don't text me. I don't want to.
That's
You
exactly
know?
what happens. And I think when you know this about yourself, you build in the right type of recovery time. For example, I just had 2 days with a client and it was amazing, right? It was all day sessions and then dinner and then up early the next morning and then all day sessions. And by the time I hit the airport, I was done. Like, I had run out of gas. I had no more words left, nothing to say to anyone. And so, knowing that, okay, the next day, I've gotta build in some time to build back up to be able to people again. That's kind of the beauty of, I think, the time that we spent together coaching is that you were able to show me some of these things about myself, not as wrong or bad, but no, build in the right things because that is how you're wired instead of always trying to feel like you're having to work around yourself. Like, embrace who you are and understand it and get clarity there.
Yeah. It's powerful. The thing that when people say, oh, this person is one in a million, I'm like, nonsense. That's nonsense. You're not one in a million. It's just nonsense. God does not make multiples. You are one in eternity.
One in
You've
a
never
billion.
been,
There's no one else.
and so, you've never been, there's no other you right now. The day you're done on this earth, that's it. There's just one you. And I think we do ourselves and we do the world a disservice when we don't fully embrace how we are wired and live out the full purpose for which we were created. That purpose taps into how you are wired. So you can never live out your purpose if you're not using your gifts and abilities. That's why they were given.
Wow. And I feel like part of the journey with the work that you do is the longer you don't understand that, the longer you spend, if I could be so bold to say miserable. I mean, I remember this one job I was working in and a friend said to me, "You are a builder and you're working in a role where you have to operationalize things. No wonder you're miserable. You're not getting to build." And I just thought it was the most profound thing anyone had ever said to me, right? But when you don't understand your wiring, you're not able to deploy the best version of yourself to a problem that you're trying to
Mm.
solve. And so I think a lot of like, when I read your books and when I sit down with your content, a lot of what you're helping us discover is who are we so that we can live out our purpose and that we don't feel that we have to live someone else's life, but we can go build our own way, cut our own road based on how we're wired so that we show up fully who we're called to be. And I love this thing we were talking about earlier, which you were talking a little bit about, AI and how everybody is so terrified right now of AI. And I love your perspective on it. I just wanted you to share that with us.
Yeah. Everybody, if people are sort of going crazy about AI, AI is going to take my job, this, that, and the other. I'm like, every shift in technology, every jump has changed things. Now I know the AI fear is that when you hear people like Elon Musk and Bill Gates saying they're afraid, I can understand why people are concerned. However, what you want to do is figure out, okay, what in your job can AI do better than you? It's better for you to figure it out than for your company to figure it out and you think you still have a job and then boom, you're gone. Lead the charge. You figure it out. Go play with the tools. Identify those areas where AI can function better than you, and then identify those areas where AI cannot replace you, and then add immense value to those roles, to those tasks.
Yeah,
Because
that's so cool.
whether you like it or not, there are things that will shift. There are tasks and functions that will be eliminated, but there are also new tasks and new functions and new jobs that will be created that humans will work in based on this technology.
Yeah, and I love that because AI is not going to be able to drive a relationship the way that you can. And it may be able to write an email for you, but it's going to be hollow without you
Mhm.
adding the heart to it. And so understanding those different pieces of where you play and it plays, and then even being the one to be at the tip of the spear of your company of actually understanding its limitations and its abilities is a very powerful thing. And then understanding how do I fold into all that.
Mhm.
And so I love that you talked about that because I feel like as we think about the different generations, we know the younger generations are coming up with digital technology just being native, right? It's like almost attached to their hand. They've had it since they were born. And other generations, right, are just trying to stay on the cutting edge and, and stay up with where the rest of the world is at because everything is going so fast. And
Yeah.
I'd love to know in the work that you do, what do you sense as you kind of traverse the different generations as you coach? Like, how has that impacted them and their outlook on AI or just even their own career based on their age?
So it's interesting with AI, the generation that I believe will lead with the full embrace of AI, Gen Alpha.
Yeah.
The, the 0 to 12, they're not even in the workforce yet. You know, we call the Gen Z is digital natives. Gen Alpha will be AI natives.
Wow.
Right now, your millennials, your Gen Zs, your millennials, your M and Xer, we all seem to be interacting with AI with the same level of skepticism.
Hmm.
How do I, let me say this properly. The digital natives are more comfortable with technology. I don't know any generation that is fully comfortable and fully aware of how AI will impact their work.
Right.
Because all generations, whether we like it or not, we all want some form of security. And right now, with AI, everybody's trying to figuring out, okay, what does this mean for me? So there are similarities for those, boomers who are sort of transitioning out of the workforce. For them, it's sort of like a toy.
Hmm.
It's sort of like a toy. It's like, okay, I don't have too many years in the workforce. So, well, not a big deal for me. X says, I turn 53 next week. And so it's like, well, I still have a long runway in the work. I need to know how to use this to extend what I do. I need to know how to use this to mentor, coach, develop others. But I also need to figure out how to get the young ones to teach me what I don't know to help me become more comfortable.
Yeah.
So generations are jumping into it at different speeds, but I sense that every generation is outside of Alpha who are still just having fun and trying to, it's like middle school or what. All the other generations are still trying to figure this out.
Yeah. It's interesting, I even think about my daughter, she'd be I guess she's Gen Y. Is that right? She's 15?
15 will be Z.
Z. You're right, that
Yeah.
is Z. So she talks to it like a friend. It's very fascinating, it's like a give and take, and she'll even, like, insult the AI, So it's
Mhm.
like you see just different generations interacting with it very differently, but for me, most of the time, it's like, "Help me write this email," or "Do some research on this," or I feel like mine's very task driven, like, it's all the
Fast.
tasks I don't wanna do, I'm just, like, dumping it off on the AI,
Mhm.
whereas she's more having this interesting kind of dialogue with it back and forth. And so it's going to, I think you're spot on. It's going to be very fascinating to see the generation that was just born with it there.
Mhm.
Like, how is it going to be incorporated and impact their work, their world, their life? I believe it's going to change so much over the next several years, not as the people who are testing it, right, playing around with it, but the people who just natively build it into
Part
their
of
work.
them.
Yeah.
It's not even part of their work because right now for them, so your daughter Lily, they're talking
Yeah.
about,
Yep.
yeah, Lily is closer to Gen Alpha, so she'll be one of those who they're sort of at the borderline of okay, Z and Alpha. But for these ones that are like pure Alpha, someone who's like 10,
Yep. That would be
who's
my
growing up,
youngest.
yeah, okay,
Yep.
so who's growing up using this for play, for school, for homework. It's not work for them. This is their life.
That's so interesting you say that. My youngest has turned us all into Muppets. So for her, it is play, right? Like, I'm on AI trying to get work done. She's over here creating Muppets. I think it perfectly describes what you're saying. Like, depending upon your age, right? There's a level of creativity that's going to impact what AI looks like in the future based on the younger generations because they're not approaching it from a work and productivity standpoint. They're
Mhm,
approaching it from a creativity and play standpoint, which
mhm.
that brings it into a whole nother lens.
Whole nother lines, which now makes it easier, much easier for them to transition all that because it's how they are into the work world. It's like they don't know anything different. So they're going to assume that, well, I've been playing this way. Why shouldn't I work this way?
Mhm.
It's going to be so natural for them. And the question then is for the older ones, how do we create structures, or is it even possible for us to create structures to mentor them? There's so much the workforce will have to reckon and deal with that I don't even think a lot of people are thinking of yet.
Wow.
Because we've got people who maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 years from now will be in the workforce. I don't know if we're equipped to mentor them. Maybe, who knows? Maybe in the next 5 years, we'll find ways, but they are growing up so dramatically different based on how they interact and use technology. Technology now that reasons, the so called digital natives, the Gen Zs were, the technology we say they were really interacting with Instagram, social media, all that, the TikTok generation. But these young ones are interacting with algorithms that reason.
Wow.
So they've got a brain, this thing, even though it's code, but it's thinking.
Mhm.
That's why they interact with it as a person.
Yes.
I don't have the answers yet, but it's like these are things that I'm constantly pondering, like, what will their world look like? How do we fit in their world?
Well, and I wanna go back to what you said around structures because it is a very fascinating question. As a matter of fact, I was over the last couple weeks, I've gotten the opportunity to talk to many different companies about leadership, but also about, like, the younger generations within leadership. And it's been a very fascinating conversation around structure because I think that the older generations have had so much structure that we are starting to see the younger generations desire to go back to a very fluid and structureless environment, meaning like you tell me what you need done and I'll let you know when I'm going to do it. When's the end date? I don't want to
Yeah,
sit in a seat all day long in order to get to the project complete. I'll still get it done, but I don't wanna do it in the seat that you want me to sit in. Just give me the task and I'll accomplish it. And then not only that, what's interesting too is, I was working with a client on their leadership pipeline and only to find out that they could not find any leaders that wanted to fill the jobs that they've filled for many, many years because it felt too restrictive. Like,
mm,
that might be a big job with lots of influence, but it's too restrictive. I'd rather divide my time between 3 or 4 things
yeah,
that I'm really fascinated by and passionate about versus forcing myself to live in this one world only and be beholden to how you tell me to live my life. And so you're just seeing this, like, unstructured, I just want to kind of, almost like on-demand workforce, and I don't know how we will support, like you said, generations to come in terms of how do you mentor that? How do you educate that in college and other will the structures of college change? In some ways, they probably should,
definitely.
right?
Yeah,
It's fascinating.
it is. And in some ways, COVID made us. I mean, so when I say us, even though it was global, but I live here in America, so let me talk about America. COVID accelerated this remote work, hybrid work lifestyle. So it went from remote work to now it's hybrid, but it became a situation where somebody's interviewing for a job. You no longer had to ask, oh, can I work from home? The companies had to justify why you had to come into the office.
Yeah.
Now And everybody, the work world had gotten used to it. Now with this, oh, go back to the office mandate for a lot of companies. I'm like, I the genie is out of the box. I don't know
Mhm.
what you guys are trying to do. There's just so many things going on that there's some chaos that companies will start to realize, okay, this is not working, because kind of like what you said, those perks will not mean anything anymore.
Mhm.
People want what they want, just that freedom to work from wherever they want to work as long as they get things done. I mean, yeah, definitely there's some roles that require you to be in the office. And when you are applying for those roles, you know that you need to work from the office. But for those positions where you don't need to go into an office and you're telling someone, oh, you must come into the office, you most likely will not get the right person for the role.
That's right.
You
The
won't.
person who is creative and who is more experienced and who can demand whatever it is that they want may not align to the rigidity of how things have been done in the past.
They won't.
And
They won't.
again, I get why companies are calling back people back to the office. I mean, they have these beautiful large offices that are mostly vacant, and that is very frustrating. But I think we're gonna have to continue to model out, what does the future workforce look like? What do they want? What can we derive that means for us as an organization? And instead of fighting the future, how do we start planning for it?
Before you plan for it, you have to embrace it. That's the problem. A lot of companies are holding on to this is what it's been. And you hit the nail on the head. They've invested in these structures and they're like, well, we have these structures. We can't lease part of the buildings out. So because we've invested this, well, we want you to come back. You're using the wrong solution to solve that problem. It's like, it's just not going to work. So I say be creative in how you solve this current problem instead of trying to do something that is, use a solution that will not work. It's just not going to, it won't augur well in the long term for them. Because I mean, there are people in a lot of my one-on-one clients, when we start to talk about, okay, with the one-on-one sessions, at some point we now start looking at work. Where do they, because they know enough about themselves now that towards the last part of it is, okay, where do I want to apply for work? And a lot of them, a number of people that I work with, it's like, yeah, remote work is what I want, or I want to go in not more than twice a week.
Mhm.
A lot of the people I work with work from home and will travel every now and then to go meet with their boss or their team. And that's what they want. I can't imagine people like that now saying they want to look for a job where I mean, I haven't coached anyone who's in that state who says, okay, I'm going to leave this and now go work 5 days from off. Like,
From an office, yes. Yeah. I mean, and that's the truth, right? The world is changing. So instead of fighting it, how do we actually sit down as leadership teams and think about the hard conversations around this and really create the structure of the future, which may look more unstructured than any of us are comfortable with. But that's the truth, right? And so and that's the way that the world is moving. So I can't believe we're out of time. But I'd love for you to tell us, how can we find you and follow you? And I know we're also going to put your course into the show notes so that people can connect with that. Which again, if you've never been coached, if you've never had somebody to delve into your life in this way and kind of look at your leadership potential, kind of give you that 360 look, I would really encourage you guys to work with Kene. Like I said, I got so many aha moments out of our coaching time together. I feel like this 4 weeks is just time well invested in yourself in order to really reach your potential and to pull some of these threads on, like, why am I always frustrated by this? Or why do I feel like I can't grow in this area? Or why am I not better at X, Y, and Z, right? There might be a reason for it. You may not be wired in the way you think you are. And so, yeah, tell us where to find and follow you so they can learn more about that.
I'm on LinkedIn, Kene Iloenyosi, ILO Iloenyosi. Iloenyosi. It's a lovely Nigerian name. Okay.
It is a beautiful
Nigerian
name. I think after you taught it to me 20 times, I could say it. I still don't know if I say it the best, but I try hard.
Trust me, many Nigerians still get it wrong. So this is normal. This story of my life, story of my family's life. And then on my website, my website is talentrevolution.me, talentrevolution.me. The dates for the next workshop are on the website. And then for some people, they want to go more in depth and they want a more flexible structure, then feel free to sign up for the individual coaching package, which is really tailored to the person. And so that's what we do. And you talked about books. So putting your purpose to work, that was my COVID baby. People had kids. I wrote a book.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I was my COVID baby. And I have a few topics swirling around in my head now for my next book, but don't know when I'll start to write. But
That's
I'll play
awesome.
with that. Yeah.
A serial author. I love that about you. Well, Kene, thank you for your time today. This has been such a blast. It's always fun to get to hang out with you. And
Likewise.
yeah, see you next time.
All right.
Well, to our listeners, thank you for joining the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast. Remember, don't just get out of the box, break the box and set it on fire. Let's go transform something.
Thank you for joining us for the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our show on iTunes. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Innovation Meets Leadership, and visit our site at innovationmeetsleadership.com for more innovation resources.
Hey, my new book is out, Set It on Fire, The Art of Innovation. Click on the link to learn more. And don't just get out of the box, break the box and set it on fire. Let's go transform something.